Prince of Paxony, Chapter 7. Smudge's Story. It was back in the palace a few hours later, with them all seated around the king's throne, that Smudge finally told his story. The unicorn lay with his feet tucked under him, more in the manner in which a dog would lie than that of the horse, of which his body shape resembled. When all was silent, he began to speak. The lands of white magic, the lands of fairy and elf, are not separated from the dark lands of imp and goblin. They meet and they melt into each other in the grey lands, which is often called no man's land. The area would be more accurately named if they were called it man's land, for it's here that the humans live. It's a strange region where the rules of magic fade out before they break down completely, and even powerful magicians become as ordinary other folk. Whenever a magician visits the human land, which men call the earth, his powers begin to diminish and fade. Within a short time, he's powerless. My true name is Samaldine of the Wings. I come from the island of Equinil, on the far side of Fairy, and I am the messenger of the Unicorn King. On his orders, I was travelling through the lands of white magic on official business. I was near the edge of the lands of Fairy, fairly close to the borders of humankind land, but not too close, when I stopped for a short rest at a traveller's inn. Now, the wood sprite who ran the inn fed me a meal which I now know was drugged. I fell into a deep sleep, and when I awoke, I was in the Greylands. The drug which I'd been served was a powerful one, and I had been asleep for over a week. When I came to, my magic powers were almost gone, and I was a prisoner of the Black Witch, Scorba. For the second time that day, the name of Scorba induced the elves to jabber excitedly. Smudge broke off his story while the king resumed order in the great hall. Aaron broke in excitedly as the babble died down. Scorba is a witch? That explains a lot. Of course. Why else would my father behave in such a strange manner? He must have been under her enchantment. It was Princess Elfleece who answered. It would seem so, Aaron, but first, let the unicorn finish his tale before we discuss that. Oh, yes, sorry. Please, do go on, Smudge. Samaldine. The unicorn raised one eyebrow at this and laughingly said, Call me Smudge, Aaron. I've grown quite used to it now, and to be quite truthful, I actually like it. He then grew serious again as he continued. As you all know, Scorba is a witch of great power. She has spies everywhere. And when she learned that I was nearby, she set her sights on catching me. He looked regretful, and I didn't make it too hard for her. She used to visit me when I was a prisoner. She would come every evening and gloat at me as I suffered, for imprisonment was only part of my suffering. I began to lose my magic powers. The first thing to go was my voice. Inside a week I could no longer speak, and as the weeks dragged on I became smaller. My wings shriveled away to nothing, and my horn receded. By the end of a year I was reduced to the state in which you found me, Aaron. To all intents and purposes, I was nothing but a small, fat, ugly pony. But why did she do that? Why did she bother to catch you in the first place? Asked Aaron. Again, it was Elfleece who answered him. The ways of magic are very strange, Aaron. By catching and keeping a unicorn, the witch grew stronger. She stole his power. She indicated Smudge. As his power grew less, so hers grew more. That's the way of magic, and especially black magic. You see, no magic is bad, it only becomes bad. If magic is stolen, then it becomes corrupt, and it infects the thief. So Scarba became more powerful when she stole the unicorn magic, and more evil at the same time. But, said Aaron, why did she let you go? Why did she not kill you? Smudge answered seriously, because the increased power that she'd stolen from me would not let her. As the true owner of the stolen magic, I and those powers are as one. If I was not freed, then my powers could not be freed. They would be unusable. If she killed me, then she would also kill her newly gotten power. As the power was rightfully mine, then if I died, so would the power. That's the way of magic. I know this is hard for you to understand, but you must accept it. Magic is mysterious. Sometimes even we who have the power don't really understand it. Smudge looked at Aaron and then at Elfleece and smiled. I believe that humans and even elves have something similar. Love. You all experience it, but few of you seem to understand it. The human prince and the elvish princess both grew red in the face at his words. They looked at each other, then looked quickly away again. The king and Smudge roared with laughter at their expressions. Enough, said the king. Now be off with you two youngsters. Go for a walk together or something while I speak alone with this messenger of the Unicorn King. Elfleece opened her mouth as if to protest, and then shut it again as the king finished firmly. And that is an order. Trying to appear unhappy at this decision, Aaron and Elfleece stood up and walked off together in the direction of the gardens. Captain Rowan and the unicorn watched them leave. Before they'd even reached the doorway leading out of the great hall, they were holding hands. Ha! An unusual match, said the king thoughtfully. But not unheard of, replied Smudge. 700 years ago, the Queen of Fairy took a human for a mate after her first husband was killed in battle. He made a good king too, as I recall, and I believe it was your own great-grandfather who took a human for a lover during the Goblin Wars. Rowan nodded slowly. Yes, and they had a child, Severin of the Sword. The greatest warrior in elvish history had a human mother. He stopped, suddenly realising that important issues had to be discussed. He spat the word out. Scarba! Damn. She's come back to haunt us. Well, messenger of the Unicorn King, what is to be done about it, eh? She's come out of the Darklands and insidiously infiltrated the human lands. She has crept into Fairy and stolen a unicorn, and in doing so has doubled her powers. This has allowed her to practice magic for a long, protracted time in the Greylands, to the point where she's even taken over a human kingdom. She must be stopped. Smudge nuzzled his front leg, and preened a few of his wing feathers. "I fear that a war is imminent, King Rowan. We must aid the humans in expelling her before she takes over any more territory, for her main objective must be the lands of the white magic." The king looked sad, but nodded his head. More bloodshed. Damn. But you were right, of course. There is no other way. He sighed a deep breath, then stood up and addressed his court. The elf soldiers around the great hall snapped to attention as he rose. "My people," he began, "the witch Scarba is abroad again, and she has designs upon our homeland. We must prepare the chariots, open the armory, recall all elvish soldiers who are on leave. We will depart for the Greylands in 1 week's time. We are at war. Death to the witch!" All around the great hall the elves raised their spears in a battle cry. "Death to the witch!" And again, "Death to the witch!"